All right, so um, for my readings for this genre project, we're doing autobiographies. The three that I chose was "What Are the Odds?" From Crack Addict to CEO by Mike Lindell. Second book is Foxcatcher of Mark Schultz. And the last book is called Mouse, about um, his the author's father, who was a Jew in during World War II, and was in like all the concentration camps. So the first book that I will start out with, and I'm going to read all these in one video. So the first book I'll be going with "What Are the Odds?" about Mike Lindell. He was a very serious crack addict. In this section that I'll be reading, it's about a time where he was up for 14 days straight. So he's with some drug dealers that he's with in Minnesota. So here, some guys are going to try and do an intervention. Okay, so here, I opened the bathroom door and walked out. Two other men were standing there, and all three, including Joe, were glaring at me. I knew the other two guys. There was Tiggs, the youngest of the bunch, but a powerful dealer in his own right. And there was Ray, a black suburban professional who moved large quantities of coke to a few select clients without ever missing a day at his real job. Ray was the one who told me never to touch crack. I drew back, look at him. You guys know each other? We do. We don't, and that doesn't matter, said Tiggs, who suddenly turned as mean and tough as I've ever seen him before. Joe called us and said, "You've been up for 14 days. You need to go to bed. We are cutting you off." I started to argue, and Ray, who was actually disgusted with me, interrupted and said, "What's the matter with you? Don't even call me man." He walked out the apartment door. Tiggs then issued Joe some instructions, and Joe walked out. Now Tiggs turned to me. "How much you got left?" "Couple rocks," I said. "All right, I'm going to wait you out." Tiggs walked over, sat on Joe's sofa, and crossed his legs. Then threw his hands up and gave me a "well, what are you waiting for" look. You ain't getting no more. So you may as well finish what you got, he said. I can't believe this. My own dealers were doing an intervention. I sat down in a chair across from Tiggs, pressed my pipe, and smoked a rock. I know that was a little long, but needed to hear all of that. So moving on to second book, Foxcatcher. The part that I will be reading is when Dave won his gold medal in 1984, and this is the match that Mark won to get his gold medal, and they were the first brothers to ever win Olympic gold. So here, I watched Dave win, but I wasn't able to enjoy his gold medal victory. I had too much pressure on my shoulders, and all I could afford to do with my final match the next day was focus on what I had to do to avoid losing. My last opponent was I can't pronounce his name, but he's from Japan, who advanced out of Group A. I had watched him in one match and honestly wasn't impressed. With the Turk, me, and Riki, the top three wrestlers all had drawn into Group B. I knew if I could just keep my head together for one final match, I could take home the gold. Right on the first whistle, I shot Nagashima and caught him in the face with an accidental headbutt. 3 seconds in, he took a brief timeout to recover. Before the match, I decided which techniques I would use against him. A football foreman shiver to a high crotch, followed by inside leg trip, took him down, then to a gut wrench, gave me a quick 4 lead. He put me in a tough spot only once when he attempted a headlock that slipped off. Other than that, I controlled the entire match, which wasn't an entire match, 1 minute and 59 seconds into the first round. The match ended on technical superiority with me leading 13-0 backflip. He got gold. So there's that one. And the last book, I have to share my screen. So in this portion, his grandfather is basically explaining a particular day in his life when he lived over in Poland, I believe. So here, one time I was going to see Islik that was late in 1941. I think his house was very near to a train station, and it was going on. There's something terrible. I had to pass near, and they were grabbing Jews if they had papers or no. What had I to do? Excuse me. Well, I walk slowly. Will I walk? Slowly, they take me. Will I run? They can shoot me. Then from far, I saw Islik walking, so I went hastily over to him. Hello, Mr. Spiegelman. What are you doing here? Don't you see what's going on? Quick, come upstairs with me until the train leaves. Islik lived in a very fancy house. He was the only Jew there. So I sat with him and his wife a good few hours. We heard shooting and screams. We survived. My life that time. So that was just one part in the book. So he goes through his whole life story with like Auschwitz and stuff like that. That's what I got for you today. Thank you.